get signatures. And women could not ask for that meeting because they didn't have that right. So it was the males who had to go from man to man, male to male, and request them please sign. And let me tell you, the first 200 signatures were easy because it's needed 10%, so it was 3,000 memberships. So 200, the rest, the other 10 would sometimes tell me, Mrs. Sati said, don't you have anything better to do? You know, or be just grateful that we allow you to enter the Gymkhana. You know, or we allow you to come here, and I would say, oh, this is and they would say this is some man stuff. So I would say, but then 20 years ago, it was only a club for white men. What are you brown sahibs doing here? So I had to really be thick-skinned. I got a lot of flack, and as I say, my children were by that time grown up, and they were wondering, you know, what I was up to, because I was getting notorious in my old age as well. But as I said, we won finally. The 300 men gave us the signatures. We got the special general body meeting. Even there we had to get 75% to say okay. And you know, we just made it. We just got 75.8. Now, of course, every male says, I was your supporter. What was the other 24%? Obviously, they are there. But nobody, because they didn't even want, they wanted a secret ballot. They didn't want a show of hands. So, you know, you can't always trust the male species. But I will always acknowledge that without the support of the men, starting with my husband and my son, who were also members, and they're talking to their friends, and that whole snowballing effect ultimately helped us not to just win the war, but the battle.
So I was thinking before that we run out of time, I feel like we're on a TV panel, but I thought we'd just open it up to questions if there are any.
We can just take around 5 to 6 questions, so anyone who wants to ask a few questions, then first one.
Lovely panel. I had just 2 issues to flag. One is you were talking about maternity leave, but I think after the Tehelka case and after the Supreme Court judge who has been inducted today, the corporates as well as the judiciary are saying they are not going to take women employees. That's going to be the backlash, and how are we going to deal with that? Second issue which I wanted to raise, women have to fight. Yes, women have been fighting, but it's high time that we work on the perpetrators of crime, which are men. So the changing the mentality of men is important. So I would like to know your opinion.
I think she's very right as to we need to change attitudes of men. And when we talk about not employing women in the workplace, this is kind of a thing which every man is saying today, especially after the Tehelka case. And when I say that, you know, when we have strict laws, many people say they're going to be misused. Yes, every law is misused somewhere or the other. But the fact remains that today you see a lot more women coming out and standing up because of the protection of the law. And that is that achievement which has happened. A young girl, if she feels uncomfortable in a situation, she will stand up and say, I don't like this. You know, where I spoke about fear and guilt, laws like this become deterrents. But yes, we cannot say that it will never be misused. You know, every law, some way or the other, is misused. But this is a beginning. This is, like I said, a deterrent. This puts even men on the back foot because they think 100 times, you know, before they even try and behave in any way. And so I feel this will happen initially. This will happen initially, but things will settle down.
Just to address your question, I think, and this is my, of course, personal opinion, I think that just like the government is coming down very strongly on this kind of behavior on the part of men, which I think it should, equally strongly should come, the company should be answerable for diversity at the workplace. This is already happening. So do not give them the choice to decide whether women will be hired or not. The company should have diversity and it should have to report back to the government that there is diversity in the staff. And I'm sorry, they will learn to behave themselves and women will continue to be employed.
Even on the boards, the New Companies Act says that there has to be one male.
Hi, I would like to continue on the same question. Recently something happened. I was on a train coming back, traveling alone in a train, and this very crass man started misbehaving. So I stood up and I said, no, this is not okay. And I called the guards. After 15-20 minutes of abuse and fighting, this man finally comes down. And while he's coming down, he calls me a bunch and says that you will not be able to mother a child, and goes on and on and on. Now, what I'm trying to say is that there were 3 police guards standing over there. There was a TC, but none of them stopped him from abusing me on my own or my privates. And in fact, the next morning when I was about to get down, something else happened, and 3 men who were with their families also abused me for being a cheap sir and creating a scene for, having said something the previous night. My question over here is that how can we change this mentality that men can abuse our privates or our homes, or try to embarrass a woman for having a stand? This happens way often than we like, where every time I've said something, the next day I've heard that, oh, she's too bold, or she's too crass, or she's too cheap, or all she likes to do is nose or nosing. Now there needs to be something done in our education system or something, I don't know. But what can we do to change this?
Thank you so much for the question.
I completely agree with that, and I think this is, we need to get down even where sensitizing our police force is concerned. And I know these are things which we repeatedly talk about, having more women police, having sensitizing the police force. But, like I said, it starts from the mindset. How do we start by changing that mindset? When you see these very people who come and disrespect a woman who's a stranger to them on the street, I guess that really shows that how they would be treating their own women in their homes. So it really starts from there. It starts from your home. And only then that change will happen. So I think that's something which will take time. It will take time. And this is an effort which I think everybody has to put in through our education system, through our awareness programs, through everything. Ma'am, I feel they are a reflection of society. They don't. But that doesn't give anybody the right. Yeah, a woman may dress in whatever way she likes, but you do not have the right to violate her because she's dressed in a certain way. Many people come up and think she asked for it. Why did she dress up? And I know, even women saying that. The first onus will go on a woman. Why did he do this to her? Maybe kuch to hoga. Maybe she asked for it. Maybe it was consensual and now something happened and she wants to now get back to it. So these are things I think, you remember
Lakshmi, I was listening to Lakshmi the other day, and you know what she said? She said, and Lakshmi, आप बताओ, आपका माँ बाप ने क्या बोला आपको जब पहली बार एसिड आपका मुंह पर आया?
मैंने ही डर के मारे अपने पेरेंट्स को नहीं कुछ कहा था, बट लेकिन जब थोड़ा सा टाइम बीता था तो कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा होता है कि पेरेंट्स को भी लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं मेरी ही गलती होगी, ऐसा भी होता है। तो इसीलिए मैंने भी पहले भी प्रोग्राम में यही कहा था कि अगर हम कहाँ जाए, अगर हम पेरेंट्स को बताते कहते कि दुनिया की लड़की घूमती है, सिर्फ तुम्हें ही क्यों छेड़ा जा रहा है, थाने में जाके वो कहते हैं कि आपने जरूर छोटे कपड़े पहने होंगे, जरूर कुछ किया होगा, रास्ते में मोबाइल लेके क्यों चलती हो, ऐसे क्यों करती हो, वैसे क्यों पढ़ रही हो, किस लिए पढ़ रही हो, हर चीज लड़की के ही ऊपर उंगली उठाई जाती है। लेकिन एक्चुअल में देखा जाए ना, असली मर्द लड़कियां ही होती है, अगर एक्चुअल में देखा जाए, क्योंकि बहुत हर चीज लड़की ही सहती है। लड़के को जन्म लड़की ही देती है, लड़की को जन्म लड़की ही देती है, ये क्यों भूल जाता है हर कोई?
That side, yes, sir.
Yes. Can you just help me understand, like, how will a name change after marriage, or if you choose a new name or the old name, will improve the life of a woman for better? So how?
No, don't get me wrong. It is not as, see, you know what, there is no magic bullet. There is no one thing that if you do will overnight lead to the one beautiful world. I mean, you're trying to empower women, or you're trying to eradicate poverty, or you're trying to stop acid attacks. The world is complex. Everything that happens in the world begins in the mind of people. Everything. Okay? Anything that we see on the road has actually begun in the mind of the person. The garbage bag on the road, the spit on the road, whatever happens that we see is begun in the mind. And when you have things like your name, it's something that you live with from the day you are born to the day you die. It's just a suggestion, a thought of a patriarchal versus a matriarchal. You read it in your, the sociologist should be talking here, not me, because I'm not a sociologist. But my instinct is that a lot of things, you know, will depend on the name. A matriarchal society versus a matriarchal society. That's what I was trying to
it goes beyond that, because I use the word patrilineal, both through the male line and matrilineal through the male. The name is by the way, but even today we have laws which are giving, say, equal rights to women when inheritance is concerned. How often, I mean, how many girls know that they have equal rights to the family property as the son has? Very few daughters, and if they know, and if the brother takes everything, they'll say, why should I go to court? How can I go against my brother? But damn you, it's your right. Just be aware of your rights, know your rights. If it is your right to inherit half that property, you have every right to fight for it. This is where the crux of the problem lies. That's what we say. This thing is a symbolic thing we are talking about, not losing your identity. You are, see, when girls got married at 12 and 14 and 16, they grew up without that. But now when a girl gets married at 25, she's got all her education under her maiden name. As I said, my daughter got a PhD under her name. Why should that be? Why that paper matters to her. She got it under her maiden name and she's proud of that. So it's just a question of, within yourself, feeling good about it and saying, okay, I am someone in my own right and I have some, and claiming your rights and saying, I am going to just fight for my rights. It's just a question of awareness of the rights. So that's why, when I'm talking about violence against women and violation, actually they are going against your human rights. It's not violence against women, it's actually violating your human rights. And I know it's not easy, nothing is easy in this world, life is a struggle. There are no simplistic solutions. But we have to evolve in our own way. And I'm glad that you are a fiery woman. Call me to help you next time.
Thank you.
And finally, we can only go for one more question, which is this side. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm a storyteller, Zarina, and I absolutely agree with freedom of choice. And freedom of choice comes, of course, with upbringing, nurturing, nature, innate in you. And I think the solution is education. And I think all the panelists who are sitting on the dais, we have two educationists, and everybody in their field is educated. And what the acid victim is doing is telling another victim how to empower. So the solution is actually, when you talk about the freedom of choice, I'm a storyteller, was recently invited to a wedding to tell stories. And I was just searching and I found the Arthurian legend about Sir Gawain and the Lothri lady. Now she actually it's a story where she asks the husband that what does a woman want? The queen asked, Queen Guinevere, if you know the King Arthur's wife. So the answer is the freedom to choose. Now King Arthur existed 3,000, 4,000 years ago, and it's actually freedom to choose. I think if a woman has that choice, everything falls into place. And education can do that. And I, as a storyteller, I tell stories for children, educate them, and I think everyone here, you don't have to be there on the dais, you can tell your stories and empower each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's really beautiful because I think every woman has a story to tell. But there was one very interesting book which someone gave my brother-in-law, and the cover said, What Women Want. And it just had 9 pages. I think that's for every man. And for other people who have questions back there, you can buy the book. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now let's hear it from the inverted commas, very specifically the publisher of the book, Priya Kapoor.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you all for being such a good audience. We have a lot more questions. I had a lot more questions that we couldn't get in this afternoon, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this initiative that Vodafone Foundation has adopted. It doesn't just begin and end with this book. It's an ongoing program to empower women from every background, from every location around the country. Starting January, NDTV is actually going to be profiling some of the women in the book in a special show that's going to be aired every month. And I think it's a wonderful initiative, Madhu. And it was really a privilege to be a part of this project, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for giving us so much time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, we have to conclude the session in a very